Welcome to Asian Music Idol, your ultimate backstage pass to the hottest stars and stories in Asian pop.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
So you've brought us a source today. It's a news article.
That's right, focusing specifically on BTS member J-Hope.
Okay, and his upcoming solo activities. Yeah, lots of buzz there.
Exactly. The article seems to detail his comeback plans.
Got it. So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack this specific article, pull out the key announcements it makes, get into the nitty-gritty about the new single it describes, and map out the timeline it presents.
Precisely. We're sticking just to what this one source tells us, trying to understand the picture it's painting of what's happening with J-Hope.
All right, let's dive in. What's the headline news here, according to this piece? The main thing.
Well, the big news is J-Hope's returning with new music. Simple as that,
But there's more to how the article frames it, right?
Yeah. It doesn't just say he's back. It uses this specific Korean phrase, "ajura."
Right, which means what exactly?
It translates to something like greatly changed, or maybe even stronger, transformed.
Huh. So the source leads with that idea, transformation.
It seems so. Highlighting that specific phrase right at the start kind of signals, this isn't just more of the same.
It sets an expectation for something significantly different, though.
I think that's what the source is trying to convey, yeah. Emphasizing change right away.
Interesting. And then it gets specific pretty quickly. The single.
It names the digital single, Killin' It Girl, and notes it features Glorilla.
Okay, Killin' It Girl. Feet. Glorilla. And the article also mentions something about concept photos kicking things off.
Yes, it does. It says those photos dropped on May 30th, and that really started the whole comeback atmosphere, according to this source.
And these photos seem important to the article's narrative.
Definitely. It spends a fair bit of time describing the visuals, which ties back to that greatly changed idea, I think.
Okay, so what does it say about the concept? Pulling straight from the source material here, it uses some pretty vivid descriptions.
It does. It talks about a sexy aura.
Right.
Uses the Korean term jolranja.
Right, sexy aura. What else?
Rough colors. Higriyanen, a sharp gaze. Hello. Okay, sharp gaze, rough colors, sexy aura.
Also a restrained expression, exabral. And it even specifically mentions clear abs, alu, agyu.
Wow, okay, so quite detailed visual notes. Does the article say why it's listing all this, the effect?
It explicitly states that these elements together leave a strong impression. The Korean is alu.
A strong impression. Makes sense if they're aiming for transform.
And there's more. It adds something about sensuous styling. Sensuous styling contributing to
his strong yet confident aura.
That's Gree, alu. No, come on, alu.
So this source is definitely painting a picture here. Powerful, maybe more intense, mature visuals compared to, maybe some past concepts.
And it's telling us this visual direction is designed to make that strong impact, reinforcing the whole change narrative.
Okay, so from those striking visuals, the article moves on to the practical stuff, like the schedule. Exactly. It lays out a pretty clear timeline for when we actually get to hear and see this new single.
Right, specific dates. What did it say? Teaser first.
Yep. According to the article, the music video teaser is set for June 9th. It uses the Korean date marker Oyo9.
June 9th for the teaser. And the main release. The single and the full MV.
That's scheduled for June 13th at 1 p.m. Again, it specifies Hochu 4 Tukiwum 1.
June 13th, 1 p.m. KST, presumably. Got it. And performing it live.
Ah, yes. The source notes he'll perform the song live for the first time pretty much immediately after release.
Oh, right away. Where?
It says the first performance, Konya, meaning after debuting the stage, he starts full activities, will be on June 13th and 14th.
Okay. Same day's release and the next day.
And the venue.
It's at the J-Hope tour on the Stag Final.
Ah, the tour final. Makes sense.
Yeah, taking place at the Goyang Integrated Stadium, Ojunggalangal. Debuting it there feels like a big statement. Okay, so that's the when and where. What about the what? The music itself, Killin' It Girl. What does the source tell us about the song? Genre. Theme.
It identifies the genre clearly as hip-hop. It uses the term hibicho.
Hip-hop. Okay, that connects to his roots, of course. And the theme, does it quote anyone on that?
Yes, it attributes the description directly to big hit music.
And what does big hit music say the song is about, according to this article?
They describe it, we find the exact phrasing, as a track that frankly expresses the excitement of falling in love in an instant. The Korean side it is Yubacha, Sioro, Haro. Haro Abo.
Interesting. So hip-hop, but the theme is that sudden rush of falling in love.
Yeah, that specific kind of instant connection and excitement.
It's kind of interesting juxtaposing that theme, the falling in love excitement, with those intense, greatly changed visuals the source described earlier.
It is an interesting combination, isn't it?
Definitely. Now, does the article place the single within, like, a larger context of his recent solo work?
It does. It frames Killin' It Girl quite specifically.
How so?
It positions it as the concluding track, Kokyula, of his current solo single project.
The concluding track. Okay, so it's wrapping something up. Does the article remind us what else was in this project?
Yes. It mentions the previous singles in this specific project, according to the source. Sweet Dreams, the one featuring Miguel, which came out in March.
Right, Sweet Dreams.
And also another track called Mona Lisa.
Okay, so Sweet Dreams, Mona Lisa, and now Killin' It Girl is the finale for this particular series.
That's the picture the article paints.
And what does the source suggest we should expect from this final track, musically speaking, building on the others?
It explicitly says that anticipation is high for an expanded musical spectrum. The phrase used is Siki Galno Hune.
An expanded musical spectrum expected from this song.
Yeah, building on whatever musical ground was covered by Sweet Dreams and Mona Lisa.
Okay, let's try and connect these dots then, based purely on what this article has given us. We've got He's Coming Back, greatly changed. We have those concept photos with specific descriptions, sexy, sharp, rough, confident, leaving that strong impression. The song itself is hip-hop genre-wise, but the theme is the excitement of falling in love in an instant.
Yep.
And critically, it's positioned as the concluding track of a project that's supposed to show an expanded musical spectrum.
All pieces laid out by the source.
So how does the article seem to want us to understand how these parts fit together? The intense visuals, the hip-hop sound, the love theme, the concluding context. How does that all add up to great change and an expanded spectrum in the source's narrative?
Well, it feels like the source is suggesting a sort of deliberate evolution.
Yeah.
The visuals deliver the greatly changed part up front, maybe showing a bolder, more intense side.
Visually fulfilling that promise.
Exactly. Then, the hip-hop genre keeps a connection to his known strengths, his roots. But the theme, that instant love excitement, could be the angle for exploring new emotional territory within that genre.
Okay, so maybe a new emotional layer on a familiar foundation?
Potentially. And because it's the conclusion of a project focused on expansion, the source positions Killin' It Girl as the culmination. It's supposed to showcase how his musical spectrum has broadened across these few singles.
So maybe by blending that familiar hip-hop with a new emotional focus, or a stylistic approach that matches those intense visuals described earlier.
That seems to be the implication built by the source, yeah. It's presenting it as the final proof point of that expansion.
It definitely sounds like the article is constructing a narrative of deliberate artistic growth. It gives you the visuals, the sound genre, the specific theme, the project context, all pointing towards this idea of transformation and broadening horizons.
Exactly. So, based solely on this article, the key takeaways are the new single Killin' It Girl featuring Glorilla is coming. There's this really striking visual concept attached, promising a strong, maybe changed impression. We have a clear timeline for the teaser, the release, and the first performance.
June 9th, June 13th, June 13th, 14th.
Got it. And significantly, it's framed as the finale of his recent solo single project, the track meant to showcase his expanded musical range.
It really gives you a framework for anticipation laid out by this one source.
It does.
So here's a final thought, just based on chewing over this article. It leans so heavily on greatly changed visuals and expects this expanded musical spectrum. How do you think the actual sound of Killin' It Girl, described as a hip-hop track about instant love, might actually deliver on both fronts? How might it bridge that intense visual transformation with the promise of musical expansion, especially as the final piece of this project?
That's the big question the article leaves you with, isn't it? How will the audio match the visuals and fulfill that narrative of expansion? We'll have to wait and see, or rather, listen.
Thanks for watching Asian Music Idol. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with the hottest buzz in Asian pop culture.